Today I want to take a few minutes and wrap up our conversations regarding development programs in our schools. One of the things that we've learned over the course of the last several weeks is if you're going to have a successful development program in your school, where you are really truly developing your school, you need to also develop a connection with your donors. By simply just writing a one-time annual fund letter, is that enough? No. The reality is, if you're going to have a successful program, what you need to do is make sure that you have taken a look at why you're doing the annual giving program, or why you're doing the major gift program, or why you're doing a planned giving program, or why you're doing a capital campaign. You need to clearly define that. As we've talked about over the last few weeks, the key element is making sure that you have a plan of attack. It's no different than going into a classroom and thinking, well, I know the material, I can go ahead and wing it in my classroom. You might be able to for a little while if you're very good, but the reality is that you need to have a very specific lesson plan, a plan of attack. That same thing takes place when you're designing a development program for your school. And every school should have a development program. Why? Because tuition alone cannot support our schools. So, what do? Number one, you need to have a clear vision of what you want the school to be. You, as the head of the institution, need to make sure that your vision is very clear. You need to know what it is that you want to try to accomplish. And then you need to gather a group of people, constituents in your community together to talk about that. How do we make that vision become a reality? So, you get your stakeholders together, your primary stakeholders, your important stakeholders. Ask them for their input. Once you do that, you then begin to design a program for your school. Number one, you need to have a campaign committee. Whether that's an annual fund committee, whether that is a capital campaign committee or a planned giving program or major gifts program. Whatever it needs to be, you must make sure that you have the right people on the bus with you if you're going to go in the right direction and have a successful journey for your school. Now, once you have a group of people together on your steering committee or your campaign committee, you need to decide what is it that we're really trying to do. You need to set realistic goals. Well, how do you set realistic goals? Number one, participation. What percentage of your constituents would you need in order to make the campaign a success? The second is, what is your financial goal? Are you trying to raise $50,000, $100,000, $300,000, $3 million, $10 million? What is it that you're trying to do? Now, people say, well, we'd like to raise this because this is what we need to make things fit this year. The reality is, look beyond that. What can you do? What can you build if you had the funding? Then make a case statement. The case statement clearly spells out your needs for your institution, why you need the funds. Second, you need to identify the key potential donors. Now, in some cases, you can go to a corporation and they'll give you an analysis of every individual in your school. The problem is, many smaller schools don't have this capability, and as a result, it's way too expensive. So the reality is, how do we do it? Very simple. We get people together, a small group together, of key players in your school, and then ask them the question, who has the capability to be a major donor? Who has the ability to give a larger gift. When we talk about personal solicitation, it's those people that we discover during this research process that identifies this individual is the head of a company. This one is the chief financial officer of a Fortune 500 company. Or it might be this is an owner of a major construction company in our area. The idea is to determine who can assist you in reaching your financial goals for your institution. Then, once you've done that, you set a plan of attack. How will you approach those donors? Do you simply call them on the phone and say, Mr. Smith, this is Mike Murphy. I really would like you to give me $100,000. Appreciate it. Thanks again. I'll send a follow-up letter. If that's your idea of personal solicitation, you are in for a sad, sad ending to your campaign. Personal solicitation means that you, as the head of the school, need to develop relationships with key potential donors. Does that take time? Absolutely. But in the end, who will benefit? Your students and your faculty, and your school will be stronger for it. You might only have 10 or 20, maybe even 50 potential large donors. That means finding time in your schedule, and that oftentimes means either doing a breakfast meeting or perhaps doing an evening meeting with the individual donor to talk to them one-on-one. To be able to sit down with them and say, here's what I'd like to do. I want to tell you what we're trying to do. This is who we are, and this is who we want to be. I'm asking for your help to try to make sure that we can help the students who come to us every day looking for a quality education. An education rooted in values. Can you help us? We know that everyone's asking you for money, but I hope that you would consider making us a priority. Because if people in our community see that you are a part of our campaign, I have a feeling that we'll have much greater success. If you give that kind of a speech or conversation to your major donors, you're much more likely to find success than simply sending a letter. Why? Because we all get letters. We all get hundreds of letters during the course of the year, someone asking us for money. The question is, what's going to make it a priority for me? In the personal solicitations, you need to make your case. You need to sell your school and the importance of that institution to the potential donor. And in your print materials, whether that be a letter or a brochure, however you decide to do it, you need to make sure that you touch the hearts of the potential donors. If you simply just write a letter saying, we're a really good school, this is who we are, we need your help, please give us $1,000. Chance of you getting $1,000 going to be slim unless somebody really likes you. You might get 5. If you're lucky, you'll get 10. $5 and $10 campaigns are only going to work if you have, perhaps 10, 15, 20, 30, 40,000 potential donors. If you have a school where there's only 500 families and perhaps 1,000 or 2,000 alums, you have to work really hard in order to make it work. So when you develop your plan, you need to have a clear plan of attack, clear idea of what the school should be like. That's your vision. And then you need to do the research on your potential donors. I would strongly suggest that you not put all of your eggs in some event, whether that be an auction or selling candy or raffle tickets. That should be just one small aspect, because too often people are let off the hook. If I can buy a $5 raffle ticket and I can shut you up, I probably will. But if I engage you and tell you individually why it's important, much greater chance of success. Oftentimes in letters that are sent out, people say, "Dear friend, dear member of the community, if you can't put my name on the top of a letter, you probably don't need my money, because you really don't know who I am." It takes a lot of work in order for a capital campaign, an annual fund campaign, or a major gifts campaign to be successful. It takes a commitment on the part not just of the principal or the head of the school, but of your volunteers. Your volunteers must be committed. If you don't have a committed group of volunteers, again, the chances of success are going to be slim. You need other people to go out and help sell your product, because that's really what you're doing when you're talking about development campaigns. You're talking about selling your vision, selling your institution, and selling the future of the entire next generation of students. I hope these thoughts help. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me. I appreciate it, and have a good day.